Are you in the middle of writing a genealogy book, but worried it's looking more like a textbook than a story your family will want to read? You're not alone. We've all been there. Howdy, welcome to Write Your Family History, where I help you learn how to quickly write non-boring family histories. My name is Devin Noel Lee, and I'm the author of A Recipe for Writing Family History, a quick process that takes you from sources to draft in a matter of minutes. All that remains after that is to revise and add more enriching details to make a non-boring family history. So if you're ready to learn more tips and tricks on how to do just that, let's get into today's video. Long blocks of text in dense family charts can easily overwhelm your readers, but with a few simple design changes, you can make your family history book visually appealing, engaging, and even fun to read. So here are 7 ways to bring your family story to life on the page. We all know the feeling of opening a book only to be greeted with a wall of text. It's intimidating and, quite frankly, boring. Even the most fascinating family history can lose its impact if the reader is too overwhelmed to dive in. What's the solution? Breaking up long blocks of text into more digestible sections and using visual signposts. First, split long paragraphs apart. You're not writing a 5-paragraph essay for an English class where long paragraphs are encouraged. To fully discuss a topic with an opening paragraph, 3 paragraphs to make your case, and a closing paragraph. Instead, break up long paragraphs into smaller chunks when a new thought, scene, or point appears in the text. If you'll notice in various blog posts, most authors do that very thing. Consider adding interest by using visual elements like initial caps. The initial cap, which starts this paragraph, is common in many published genealogies, particularly the older ones, including this one for Reinhold and Matthew Marvin book. While you don't have to be as fancy as this example, notice the visual cue adds a little fun to a page. Incorporate bullet points into your text for lists. Don't limit your bullets to just children. You can include lists of residence changes in a 20-year time period, stops on a journey from Cornwall, England to Silver City, Nevada, rank changes during a military career, college football teammates, political offices held. You get the idea. Sometimes when you do not want to write every detail about an ancestor, you can leverage lists to do the heavy lifting in your story while adding a visual nugget to a page. Many lifestyle pieces in newspapers and magazines lean on subheadings to break up long articles and keep readers engaged. Subheadings, again, are those visual road signs guiding your reader through your narrative. So for example, if you're documenting your family's migration journey, use subheadings like Childhood in Ohio, 1850 to 1870. The Move West, 1871 to 1885. Settling down the Samantha, 1885 to 1899. Subheadings not only organize your content, but also make it easy for readers to jump to sections they're most interested in. Have you read any self-help books in the last 20 years? I noticed that such books use motivating pull quotes to start chapters. The text is inserted under the chapter number or title. It's often set off in a font style that is different than the main body of the text, along with line spaces before or after the quote. But be careful choosing quotes and make sure they actually pertain to the topic of the chapter we're about to read. Add some fun interest, but don't help make us confused. Now, if you're a fan of the Write Your Family History channel, you'll remember my new favorite technique, boxed text. Let's say you're quoting an ancestor's letter from the 1800s. Pull out an emotional or poignant line and place it in a visually distinct box. For instance, the days are long, but my thoughts are always with you. Placed in a box, This can create a moment of reflection for the reader, or tug on the heartstrings a little bit. It adds depth and breaks up the monotony of standard text. Box text can also include side stories, explanation, and fun facts that don't necessarily fit in the main story, but readers can review them at their leisure. Have you ever wondered if you should capitalize surnames in your family history book? It's common practice to put surnames in all caps, but that can be jarring on the eyes. Small caps are more elegant options in publishing, offering emphasis without overwhelming your readers. Now, however, in some languages, capitalizing a surname changes the accents, marks, or the language style rules. For instance, Duval and Duval sound similar, even though letters are the same. While some experts may suggest that it is standard to adhere to big caps when stylizing the surname, the best advice is to format the surname for clarity. The key is clarity. Choose a style that emphasizes the surname without straining the reader's eyes, and remember to be consistent throughout your book. When it comes to consistency, this is where the details really matter. Consistency in date and place formats will make your book easier to read. For example, which of these 3 birthday styles do you prefer? Choose one format and stick to it throughout your book. The same goes for place names. If you're using modern place names, be consistent throughout your book. If you're using historical place names, keep to that standard. You can use footnotes or parentheticals to help a reader know a boundary change happened between the past and the present. You just have to be consistent in your book. There is no official correct location style here, unless you're writing for a specific publication to include your story. If you are, check their style guide. But if you're writing for yourself, there's no official correct location style here. You need to make the choice and use it consistently throughout your piece. However, that doesn't mean you must use Columbus, Franklin County, Ohio, United States whenever you mention the location. Instead, you can use first and second references. For example, in the story of my ancestor Lewis Brown, when I mentioned the first event in his story, I would use my preferred style of Columbus, Franklin, Ohio. The next time I mentioned an event in his life and that happened in that city, I could use Columbus or Columbus, Ohio. However, if an event in his life happened in the city of Columbus, but in the state of Georgia or Texas, I would then need to use the full location name again to denote another city with the same name. Using a consistent format makes the story easier to follow and keeps visual clutter to a minimum. Now, indentation might seem like a minor style choice, but they play a big role in how easy your book is to read. Now, some people prefer every new paragraph to be indented, while others prefer to keep text flush with the left margin, assuming you're writing in a language that's left margin starting. Both styles are valid, but the key is, again, consistency. So if you take away anything from how to make your book look better, consistency is key. But let's go back to indentions. If you decide to indent each new paragraph by 5 spaces, keep that formatting throughout the book. On the other hand, if you prefer a cleaner look with the first paragraph of a chapter starting without an indent, make sure every chapter follows that same style. If you're creating a bulleted or numbered list, like a timeline of births, marriages, and deaths, choose how much to indent the list and stick to it. This creates a uniform appearance and keeps the reader focused on the content, not the layout. And it's a surefire way to make your book look more professional, even if you self-publish. I can't stress this next tip enough. Page breaks are a small but mighty skill in the design of your genealogy book. If you have charts, tables, or images, keeping them together on one page is crucial for clarity. For instance, if a family tree chart breaks across 2 pages, it forces the reader to flip back and forth, which can be frustrating and confusing. So use a page break option to ensure document editor is putting tables, charts, and significant sections together and they remain intact. If they need to spread it across 2 pages, make sure they're facing pages, not a front and back. Photos are a fantastic way to breathe life into a family history book, but where you place them is just as important as the photos themselves. A well-placed photo near the related text can help readers connect with the story in a more meaningful way. For example, if you're writing about your grandfather's military service, place a photo of him in uniform right next to the part of the narrative because it will deepen the reader's connection to the story of his military service. You can also get creative with photo timelines. A series of pictures showing a house over several decades or a person at different life stages can make the history feel alive and relatable. And the amount of comparison that people do when they see this timeline of photos is super fun, slows them down, and makes the story really come alive. Now, inserting photos is only half the battle. Identifying them is just as crucial. Be clear about who is in each image by providing detailed captions. For group photos, be specific. Instead of saying the Smith family 1920, go a step further. Back row, second left, John Smith. This level of detail is especially helpful when future generations use your book for their research. If the photo shows a location or event, be sure to include the date and place. For example, Lewis Brown's house, Columbus, Ohio, about 1890. This context adds another layer of richness to your narrative. A family history book isn't just about documenting facts, it's about telling a story. By making your text visually appealing, you help readers engage with that story on a deeper level. Whether you're using subheads to break up text, strategically placing photos, or ensuring consistent formatting, these small design choices can have a very big impact. Start incorporating these tips today, and your book will not only be a great read, but a beautiful keepsake for generations to come. Have I missed any suggestions on how to make your book more visually appealing? Let me know in the comments section below.